Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 14. As you can see, a little bit of a different episode today. We're in the same place at the same time. I can actually touch and feel Chad, and unfortunately hear him very clearly.
No diddy.
All right, and unfortunately hear him very clearly here for episode 14, the Sam Darnold episode, as Chad called it. If you recall, Chad was shouting out Sam Darnold a lot the other week. Said he was his boy. Said he really had him out of college. And so since he threw 3 picks yesterday, Chad, that's going on your tombstone. But my boy Bryce Young won another game yesterday, so QB stock game looking good for me still.
I'll tell you this. Matt Stafford has had a nice resurgence the past 2 games. And the thing is, I was wavering on picking him up, and then that Sunday, the day we recorded, where I actually made the pickup, they ended up winning against, I think it was Arizona or something, and then they won last week. Got a chance tonight on Monday Night Football to make it 3 in a row against the Dolphins. So I'm just saying, Stafford
I don't even
stock
know.
up.
I feel like the Rams to me are just like the most irrelevant team in the NFL because it seems like every single time I'm on Red Zone or watching the 1 o'clock window, it's just like the Rams are just never there.
Well, they play a lot of 420 games too. I think is what happened.
See, I'm always dead by the 420 window.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's why I know I missed their games because like by the time that 420, it's not even kickoff because kickoff, I'm like, you know what, man? Let me load up on a plate of food or something. Let me grab a drink. Like, all right, let me get some energy. And then maybe by that second drive, third drive, like after a couple 3 and outs, then all of a sudden I'm like, bad quarterback play puts me to sleep. That's why I wasn't able to watch the Jared Goff. What was it 5 interceptions he threw last night somehow, and they still won? So, did not end up watching that one. But yeah, that 4 o'clock window that'll crush any man's confidence.
Yeah, I'm good for the 1 o'clock window and some of the Sunday night game, but that 420 window, I just can't do it.
Speaking of that Rams Dolphins game, real quickly, because I know we got a lot to talk about. I want to give a shout out to your boy Pat Day. I was actually texting with him yesterday. We're going against each other in fantasy, and he had Jamar Chase, unfortunately for me. So
that's automatic loss.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But somehow, my team still put up a good fight. I'm like 7 points behind him, and we both have one guy going into the game. He's gonna win because he's got Cup. So
and you have a defense.
No, but that plays into the story. That's great. He was supposed to be starting the Rams defense as well. He actually took their defense off and is just starting no defense because he didn't want to risk getting negative points.
That's my strat.
And I actually texted him when I saw the change get made, and I said, "Hey man, I respect that move. You're an all-time fantasy veteran to me for that one." So that was a good moment between me and Pat Day, and we talked about a possible Mike Evans for Marvin Harrison Jr. trade that'll probably be done by the time this episode comes out. So guys, let me know who you're saying is the winner of that one. I ended up picking up Marvin Harrison Jr. Mike Evans, remember, out at least 3 more weeks. So.
Also, Chase Deaton refused to give up Nico Collins for that same Marvin Harrison Jr. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a reason that Chase is always at the bottom of the fantasy football rankings. So
I haven't looked in a while at the standings.
Yeah, of course.
Who's first in the league?
The
at
only
8-2 now.
The only person that cares about the rankings in the regular season, that'd be you. Okay. Me, I'm just
cool.
Hey, get in and figure it out, New York Giants style. I got Tom Coughlin vibes.
Well, actually, the Cowboys are taking up that strategy a little bit this year, but they're taking it a little far, not caring about the regular season, going for the playoffs. But
they thought, and this can be a perfect transition, but they thought the NFL playoffs expanded the way the Champions League did. So they're trying to
24 teams get in.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, dude, we just got to be better than New England. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think they have the same record right now, so that's unfortunate.
I know. I've been trying to cook people's teams, and it doesn't really go through because, Cowboys. But as Chad kind of alluded to, this episode today is going to be really about the Champions League season, all right? I actually care about it now as an Arsenal fan, since, we're finally back in it for real. It's not just like a fantasy season like last year. So we're kind of going to talk about the new format, going to talk about how things are looking right now because we're at the halfway point. Mm-hmm. Just going to give you guys a little reminder of what the format actually looks like. This year, obviously 36 teams all in one big group stage. All right, in one big league phase, every team plays 8 teams, and kind of the idea is that you're supposed to play teams of 2 teams out of the 4 tiers, and each tier is exactly what it sounds like the top
Like
9 the top 9 teams, the middle high 9 teams, the middle low 9 teams, and the lowest 9 teams. They're kind of all put into a pot, and so the idea is so that you don't end up playing Real Madrid, Inter, City, Barca, all those teams in the same.
Unless you're PSG.
Yeah.
You play all
Well, you don't play all those teams all 8 weeks. You still
Yeah.
have those teams mixed in, like the
young boys.
in like the Serbian clubs that I always forget, like Sparta Prague and
Red
Red
Star.
Star, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that we always forget about. So,
The teams that are in the rest of the world category on FIFA.
exactly. So, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. All right, I was gonna try and hide it for a second, but I'm gonna be using my phone for notes because I'm using my computer, to kind of get the wide shot. So I am gonna look a little bit unprofessional using my phone for notes, but it's okay. The top 8 of those 36 automatically qualify for the round of 16, so they kind of have more or less a bye to the round of 16. And then the 9 through 24, they actually get put into a sort of playoff round, a pseudo round of 32. Not really, because obviously there's only 24. But it's a 2-legged playoff sort of between, is it a random team or is it 9v24?
No. It's 9v24.
All right, so
Yeah,
9v24, 10v23, so on and so forth. All right, so they'll go to that playoff game or playoff round, and then 25 through 36 is just eliminated from the tournament. You don't have that demotion to the Europa League like you had before. We want to give our quick thoughts on just exactly what we think of the format so far, and what we think of it. And I guess I'll start. I think this is really destroying the fabric of football. Anything that changes the sport itself is perfect. I think anything that changes it sucks. Obviously, I'm joking. Me and Chad seem to be on the same page that we're both really, really enjoying it so far, and it kind of gives the great mix of what the Champions League is all about. You get to see the really, really good teams play against each other, but then you've seen some smaller teams, as we'll get into, that have been able to sort of challenge to get into the knockout stage. Before, you would see a group with like City, Copenhagen, Young Boys, and Dinamo Zagreb. It's like, oh god, I wonder who's going to get out of this group. Yeah. And then even when a team would place second in the group, then you'd get pissed off, or fans would get pissed off because they'd be like, oh, Real Madrid playing against Dinamo Zagreb in the round of 16. This is great. So what's your thought about it so far?
First off, I love the point that you made because somehow City had like a 4-year run where it was like, all right, who are the 3 worst teams
in the entire competition?
Yeah, I was just saying the whole competition. We're going to place them with City, and they're going to walk to 18 points. But my thoughts so far, I've loved it. A lot like you had said. I'm real simple. You give me matchups of really good teams against each other, I'm going to be happy every single time. And this year, obviously, it's a little bit because of the more games, and also you're not tied to playing each team home and away like you were previously. But you've just seen so many more good matchups. I mean, I have a list now just of some of the ones that have already happened. Inter Man City, Liverpool, Milan. Arsenal have played against PSG and Inter. Real Madrid have played against Dortmund, AC Milan. They have Liverpool to play still. So PSG, who I feel like has just had the worst run out of all of them. They've played Arsenal, Atletico. I think they played someone else half decent as well. And then they still have to play City and Bayern left. So you're going to have one of those every year, or maybe every couple years. But like you said, the mix of being able to see those huge matchups and then also see, a Sporting, see a Monaco, a Brest, something like that. Seeing those teams kind of, be able to play against or play at a higher level and play against those top teams. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So, what I kind of wanted to do and what I wanted to focus on, and Chad wanted us to expand it out, is really focus on the surprise teams in kind of each tier so far. If you want to split into the 3 tiers with the automatic qualifiers, the playoff round qualifiers, and the elimination teams, we're going to kind of use that as sort of our frame of reference for sort of the entire competition as a whole. But we'll still mention all the teams that are in each tier.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's get going on that. So let's start off with the automatic qualifying group, and this is in order from 1 to 8. It is right now Liverpool, who are the only team that are perfect with 12 points.
Yep.
Then we have Sporting, Monaco, Brest, Inter, Barca, Dortmund, and Villa. And I put as my surprises in that group. There are quite a few, about half the group,
Yeah,
really.
honestly.
Sporting, Monaco, Brest, and Villa. So kind of the rest of that top four, other than Liverpool and then Villa, even though Liverpool in and of itself might be considered a bit of a surprise with the changeover of Klopp into Slot and things like that.
I'm surprised. I had them fifth when we did our preseason, which looks like the dumbest prediction of the year so far. So
I'll get on to that later. And then we have Villa in 8th, who are higher somehow in the Champions League than they are in the Premier League, which is incredible.
That's
but
impressive.
Who of those four would you say has been the most, maybe not surprising, but impressive in their own right so far?
Strangely enough, I'd actually say Villa. I think they got the best win out of all of those teams with that win against Bayern. Obviously, Monaco beating Barcelona at home, you can say is a better result because I think Barcelona have been a better team. Obviously, we saw them and Bayern go against each other, and there was no competition. But I think Villa, like you hinted at, they haven't been doing as good in the league. They kind of have gone through a slightly not so great patch, kind of going into this international break, which I think is needed for not only a lot of teams in this competition, but a lot of teams throughout Europe, really. A lot of teams are kind of struggling, which is weird because we're only 2 months into the season, where like teams are limping to this November international break. But I think Villa has been the biggest surprise for me. Mainly because like you look at, some of those teams that have maybe broken into the European places in England specifically the past couple of years. You're talking about your Brightons going into the Europa League. You're
Villa.
talking about Villa. Yeah, you're talking about West Ham. When they were both in the Conference League and the Europa League.
Chelsea breaking back in. Congrats to them.
Chelsea going against FC Noah,
A club that was founded in 2017.
Were they actually? God, yeah. I mean, I don't even know what country they're in, so I don't.
I believe they are currently 3rd in the Armenian Premier League, last I checked. So,
Man, hey, but that's a good league this year. So
they got guys in there.
That's the thing you forget about. That's
It's
a
like
good
the
league.
PD in soccer.
Yeah.
They got a couple guys in there.
But and then also, Newcastle, I think last year when they kind of struggled, granted they were in a really difficult group, PSG, Dortmund, and AC Milan, last year. So, but those teams have struggled to be able to do well in Europe and then also kind of maintain that consistency in the league.
Yeah, the fall off
Yeah.
from all those clubs, really.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one that we mentioned, Brighton ended up not in a European spot last year after getting an Europa League spot. West Ham, after winning the Europa Conference League, has gone nothing but downhill.
Yep.
Newcastle wasn't really anywhere close to the European spots last year.
No.
And Villa, again, is in 9th right now, which it is still November, but, they're definitely not looking like the same Villa as last year. It's weird. They've somehow lost a lot of what made them really good.
Yeah. Some of that, a lot more of that technical side of things.
Yeah, but now, even though they're now playing at a higher level, you would think. I know it's not even close to the same accomplishment, but sort of what happened with Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso, where he was like, "Look, I'll stay, but you got to save my players." You would think that Unai Emery would have sort of a similar sort of idea with Villa, and it looks like they've added well, and even players have progressed well. Guys like, Morgan Rogers has been really, really good.
Yep.
Decided to be, the man of the match against Arsenal and then miss a goddamn wide open goal from 15 yards out against Liverpool, of course. But, that's neither here nor there. But they definitely have the good players. But if they had a half-decent goalkeeper, I think that they'd be way higher up the league.
Yeah, no. The Emi Martinez thing is
You guys want to talk about Lionel Messi living off the World Cup? This dude, Emi Martinez, might have been like
100%, 100%, because he's still living off of it somehow. Because then it was like, oh, he won the World Cup and then he won the Copa America. Shoot, he's got to be the best goalkeeper in the world.
That's how
and it's
that
like,
works.
dude, he was actually horrible in that game against Spurs about a week ago. In that 4-1 drubbing, which losing to Tottenham 4-1 right now is not a great result for anybody. The way they're
Ipswich.
playing. Shout out to Ipswich. But yeah, so I think Villa is a big surprise. I think You look at obviously the teams that are going to stand out as the surprises. You would say Monaco and Brest most likely. Both Ligue 1, probably I mean not probably the worst of the top 5 leagues, definitely. But Monaco, they I mentioned that game against Barca. That's the only tough game that they've played.
Exactly.
So it's not Brest. I think I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, the toughest game they played was Leverkusen, who. We'll get on to them in a minute, but they just haven't looked like the same team this year. They're not even close to the same team. So both of them have, I think, been a product of being able to play against some weaker competition. It's kind of leading to where they're at. You look at the second half, I mean, Monaco, we're definitely going to find out about them. Milan away, Villa at home, Arsenal away, Benfica at home. Like, that's four. I mean, I don't know if there's a guaranteed point in there for Villa or for Monaco the rest of the way.
Yeah, that looks like 2 points tops.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Maybe you nick a draw against Benfica.
I'd say a draw away and a draw home out of that, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
The only game they really, and of course I say this and I'm going to end up getting shit on because they're going to beat Arsenal away, but I really only see them maybe being able to beat Benfica at home tops, and then the rest is maybe draws.
Yeah, draws at best.
At best, correct. I don't really see them winning any of those games. Even the Villa game, which we kind of just talked about how poor they've been, even though it's Villa at home. I mean, Villa not only have a manager that is really, really good in weird environments like that where it's like away and we need a result and stuff like that, but they also have players that fit that. Like Ollie Watkins is the kind of guy that's like,
Back
Watkins had.
the wall
I say he had 2 shots. They both went in.
Touched the ball 9 times.
Touched the ball 9 times. Had 2 shots. They both went in. That kind of a guy. And then Inter Milan, we saw how well organized they can be against Arsenal. I doubt they will be that same way. But I mean, if it comes down to a thing where it's like Inter Milan need 1 point to get automatic qualification to the round of 16, they just put out like a similar lineup to what they had and play a similar style and just be like, guys, just don't concede and we're on to the next round.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about Inter just for a second because I think they've been, Serie A. I know you've had your gripes with Serie A over the past handful of years, and I'm not sitting here telling you it's the best league in the world, but I think they've actually had a little bit more depth, a little bit of sneaky depth and improvement from that top tier of teams this year, and I think Inter are a team that can really challenge for, it's always weird to say, could they win the Champions League? Well, guess what? Dortmund was in the final last year, so it's not...
was in the final last year. Chelsea won it 3 years ago.
Yeah, Inter was in the final 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's not just like, all right, Real Madrid and City, they're the 2 best teams. They're going to play in the final, every single year or anything like that. So, I'm sorry, Real Madrid and Arsenal are the 2 best teams. They're going to play against each other every year in the final. It doesn't work that way. So, what do you see Inter's ceiling being? I know there are some Italian fans might just have cursed me right there. What do you think the ceiling is for Inter?
I mean, what a huge thing is, and you'll see this from Atletico Madrid, the 2 times they made the final, having that defensive stability / sort of just bastard quality to your team with a guy like Lautaro Martinez and
100%.
other guys in that midfield. What's his
Barella?
Yeah, like having that little just like nasty side of it. And then Jan Sommer is someone that has shown that he can make big saves. I don't really love him in the air. I don't really love him on the ball, but he's a guy that's made big saves throughout his career for Switzerland and then, for Borussia Mönchengladbach, even when they were fighting to get in Champions League spots, way back when. He's still a solid goalkeeper. And
I thought it was actually decent for Bayern too. Second half of the season,
yeah,
a couple years
and it's
ago.
just and so when you have those like sort of pieces, that's kind of the basis for what ends up being a Champions League contending team. Again, it's so hard to say because you don't see what like the tree, what the bracket, I guess I might say, looks like, but they have at least the elements of it. And I think there are teams that have elements of it that may not on paper look like, oh, they can do it, but even like a team like RB Leipzig, where it's like. When you have guys like when you have pace on the counterattack, when you have power on the counterattack, and you have a manager that's good enough to have the defensive solidity. Again, not saying these teams are going to win it. If they go out in the round of 16, it's not like,
no one's going to be surprised.
Yeah, you guys are idiots, but it's like there's a difference between a team that's one of the top 2 teams in the world and a team that wins the Champions League. I think even when Liverpool won it, I don't think there was anyone that was arguing.
They were the best team in the world.
They're the best team in the world. And again, I know... I love to hate on Chelsea. Same thing with them. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think either time they won it, people were like, "Yo, you know who the best player in the world is? Drogba."
Yeah.
Like, no,
Kai Havertz is the king of Europe.
That's what I mean. Like stuff like that. I mean, it was memes and stuff, but you kind of need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of nastiness, and you need that little bit of magical something every round, basically. And I think some of those clubs are the ones that I can sort of see. Especially like Inter, who's a huge club and has the pedigree of it, and probably will be able to deliver in those pressure moments.
Yeah. Let's hit on Sporting real quick, just to kind of wrap up this section of it.
Been waiting on this.
What is your, obviously they've lost Ruben Amorim now. He's officially off to Manchester United. Will start taking over, when they come back, or will manage his first game when they come back from the international break. Sporting, I think, promoted... He's either the youth team coach or maybe one of the assistants. Sorry, don't hate on me. I'm not a.
You can hate on me because I have no idea who they promoted.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not a wizard when it comes to the Portuguese league coaching carousel. No. So, what do you think of Sporting's chances to kind of continue on and maybe even reach round of 16, quarterfinal, something like that?
You know what's weird is I think that they're going to have a weird sort of identity crisis, like a positive identity crisis. Actually, with Amorim leaving, I think for about a month or two they're going to continue what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to kind of be like, it's not... Because right now, what is everyone saying? Everyone's saying Sporting's not going to be able to do it because they can't anymore. Because they don't have Ruben Amorim. That's what everyone's saying and thinking right now. And so I think they're going to have a very, a huge time of unity where they're like, we, the players, are the ones that did this. We, the club, are the ones that did this. We, we did this so we can continue to do it. We love Ruben Amorim, but it's not just him, it's us too, that kind of thing, and it's really going to galvanize them, I think, maybe even through the rest of the league stage. But I think the gap in quality is probably going to catch up to them eventually. So I could still see them getting an automatic qualification bid, but I think round of 16 to quarterfinal, depending on their draw, is probably what the ceiling is for this team.
Yeah, I think their schedule isn't too bad. They've got Arsenal next, obviously, which they beat City 4-1 or whatever it was, but I wouldn't consider them favorites to pick up points against Arsenal. But then you look at the rest of the schedule, they've got Bologna, RB Leipzig, which if Leipzig are going to make any push, then they're going to have to win that game.
And then the mighty Club Brugge away.
Hey man, Hans Van Aken, don't underestimate him. Don't underestimate that.
Your boys on FD used to call him Vanaken.
I mean, look, you can't hate on people with the pronunciations too bad. I mean, I look at Victor Gyökeres every time he plays, and I'm like, how would I have said that name if I had never watched soccer?
Yeah.
Kiyosigarikas. What is he, Greek or something? Oh, he's a Swedish dude named Gyökeres. Got it. Yeah, sounds good.
I should have known that.
Yeah,
I should have known the first three letters were all silent.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the all-time example is Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
Yeah.
It was like you take one look at his name and you're like, what is that supposed to say?
Yeah.
Like, I get it, Turkish, maybe a little bit different, all this stuff, but come on now.
Yeah, so I think we've sort of talked about that a little bit. City losing 4-1 at home. I think they lost 4 straight games.
Yep, yeah, first time, and I don't know. It says definitely the first times for Pep at Man City. There have been rumors that it's the first time ever, but then I saw some hardcore people be like, "No, he actually lost 4 in a row at Bayern." Blah blah blah, and I'm like, "All right, yeah. I'm not going to go back and do the research from 2012."
So it should be Pep out because it's Arteta out. But that's neither here nor there. So let's move on to the playoff round qualifiers. All right,
real quick, just so that way neither one of us are big fans of these two teams, but Liverpool, as we touched on, they've looked amazing. Barca have looked really good since that Monaco loss. So those are both teams that I would say are in that first tier of favorites. So just want to at least give them a quick mention.
Fairs. So starting off from 9th, and this is going to be a long list, so if you can't keep up, it's okay. We'll get into some specifics here in a second. Atalanta, everyone's favorite team in 2018, is at 9th. Going down to 10th, we have City, then Juve, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Lille, Celtic, Dinamo Zagreb, Bayern, Real Madrid, Benfica, Milan, Feyenoord, Club Brugge, Atleti, and then PSV. And so we're kind of looking at this list, and I had some surprises kind of eat one way or the other. Let's start with the positive surprises, I guess. And that would be Dinamo Zagreb and Celtic in that 15th and 16th spot. Now, Celtic, I think, are probably one of the big winners of this format because they typically are the club that is always in that weird group where it's like, oh, it's PSG, Dortmund, City, and Celtic.
Yeah,
it's like, well, shit, okay. Well, yeah. Maybe not City, because City would never be put in a group
I was going to say,
hard.
never that difficult.
Yeah, so maybe like Real Madrid, plug them in. Like they got Real Madrid, PSG, Dortmund, and then Celtic, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think Celtic are really, really obviously happy with what's going on. And then going into Dinamo Zagreb, another club who are...
got killed on match day 1 by Bayern.
Was that the 9-2? Yeah, the
people
9-2.
wrote them off immediately.
I mean, I'm still writing them off, but I mean, that has nothing to do with anything other than just the skill gap, really. And even Celtic, it's like Celtic are weird because every once in a while they'll kind of step up in these European games and they'll get up for it, but I don't really know what their ceiling could possibly be. I mean, if you're looking just in their Champions League games, Chad's pulling them up now. They still have Club Brugge at home, which is a winnable game. And they actually play Dinamo Zagreb away, which, again, if you're talking about winnable games as far as Champions League is concerned, that's another one. Then they have Young Boys, and then they have Aston Villa. So that's 3 games out of the 4. And even when you consider Aston Villa, that's probably the worst of the English teams.
Yeah.
So those are probably...
And who knows? I mean, that's the match day 8. Who knows what the
Villa could have maybe already qualified,
yeah.
And then they're kind of resting players.
Exactly.
And starting Jacob Ramsey and Aaron Ramsey.
John Duran.
People like that. Because John Duran can't start games, I guess.
Yeah, that law was passed a couple months ago.
Exactly. So when you're looking at those games, I mean, that's one of the ones where it's like Celtic could be one of those teams that maybe even could do something crazy and push for an automatic qualifying spot if you think about it. I mean, if they get 7 points out of that, then that would take them out. That would take them up to 14 points total right now, and they're only 2 points behind Villa right now. And so if they're getting 7 points out of their last 12, I mean, that would be a huge step toward that. But at the very least, securing that progression into the next round.
Yeah, and it's funny, both of those teams, I mean, we talked about Dinamo Zagreb getting killed against Bayern 9-2 on match day 1. Pulling it up now, Celtic lost to Dortmund 7-1 on match day 2. So, like, two teams who, like you said, the new format really benefits them because, I don't know exactly how all the teams are lumped in and what team is in which group, but I would assume between Celtic and Zagreb, because they're, like, automatic qualifiers through winning their leagues. Like, there's probably a weird thing where, like, they're probably probably in like pot 2 probably. Yeah. But yeah, they're in like pot 2 ahead of like Villa or, something like that, maybe even a Liverpool, depending on how it's shaken out. So they are definitely huge winners. I mean, you talked about the Celtic run that they've got was still, Young Boys and Zagreb still to play. So that's...
I mean, even you look at their fixtures they've already played. I mean, they've
RB
Leipzig.
Hard team. They played difficult teams.
They played RB Leipzig, they played Atalanta, they played Dortmund, and they played Bratislava. But it's like... I mean, you say they play hard teams. I mean, they haven't played the City. They haven't had to play Liverpool. They haven't had to play Real Madrid. They haven't had to play Atletico. They haven't had to play Barcelona. They haven't had to play Arsenal. They haven't... I mean... If you really look at even Bayer Leverkusen, they could have had to play in Germany, which you haven't been great this year, but they've clearly shown the pedigree over the past 12 months that they're a really, really good team. I mean, being able to avoid those clubs, I mean, even avoiding PSG, who haven't had the greatest time, but as you've kind of alluded to, they've had a very, very rough fixture list so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, as you say, it's not like Celtic have played the toughest schedule, but I'm just saying, like, they've played, tougher competition than like, Monaco or Brest or like those other teams we talked about as like the surprises. So, I think granted they got killed by Dortmund, so it's not like I'm going to sit here and give them credit for getting killed by Dortmund. But yeah, I think, Celtic are one of those teams that'll be probably a tough knockout, the round before the round of 16. Yeah. There'll be a tough out in that round, which, it's interesting. I can't wait to see like kind of what the new perception becomes of some of these teams, right? In the sense of like, we've talked about, and I think RB Leipzig and Salzburg actually, have kind of become that one of those teams that you look at as like, all right, they're a team that'll be a tough out in the round of 16, kind of a bitch to play against, maybe as the third team in the group or something like that. Salzburg probably looking like the fourth team in the group, most likely, in the old format. Now it's like, who are those teams that are like, can Celtic kind of solidify themselves as like, hey, we're a knockout team, a team that's going to make it to the knockout round. We're never going to beat anybody, but like we can make it to the knockout round, in 2 of the next 4 years or something like that.
Well, I just think it's so hard when you're outside of those top 5 leagues to really establish yourself as much of anything in Europe because it's
just funding is not going to be there.
The funding, and then also like if you're trying to attract players, it's like, hey man, you can come to Celtic and win the SPL. It's like, well, haven't you guys done that every year for like the past decade and a half?
It worked for Cameron Carter-Vickers. They were able to get him there.
Well, that's what I mean. And it's just like at some point you kind of just look at it and be like, what even is this product or this project? Like, we play in Europe every year, we do okay and or get our ass kicked, and we win the league. It's like, I'm not saying that's an impossibility, but like just looking at the staleness, I guess, of the project, because I really do think no matter what you do, you're not going to become one of those top level teams that's always in the top 8, but you're also never going to be a team that's really, if you're in your failure, is finishing second. So as a player, you have a crap ton of pressure on you, but you're really not even that great of a team. So it's like a very, very weird dynamic in there. It's kind of like playing. Never mind. Well, it's kind of like playing for the Cowboys. It really is. It's like you have a crap.
Thought we promised ourselves no Cowboys.
It's like we have a crap ton of pressure on us, but like you kind of look at the roster and it's like, well, should they be winning more games?
Yeah, the Cowboys, the Lakers, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees for a decent amount of time in like the mid 2010s, where it was just like, I mean, is this team even good? They just had like the NY on their hat, so people feel like they should be good.
Yeah, and I mean that's the funny thing is Celtic is the New York Yankees, of Scotland, or whatever, the LA Lakers. They're the number one, and it's probably even more so because, I mean, soccer there is more popular than any sport, I would say, in the U.S. Yeah, aside from football, I guess. But even then, it's different because in football, people all over. In Scottish football, football, we'll say. It's basically like you have 2 teams to choose from. Which one do you like? Yeah. So I don't see too many people out there being Hearts fans. So.
Well, hey, Aberdeen is level on points with Celtic right now. 31 from their first, from the first 33 available points. So, you never know. Aberdeen might be in, Celtic's position.
Isn't that who,
Sir Alex Ferguson?
Okay, yeah. I knew someone half decent from 100 years ago managed them. As you guys know, I only started watching the sport 5 years ago, so I don't know any of that. Let's move on to some other teams kind of in the group. Let's talk about Juve for a bit. Let's talk about Juve because they're a team that
Tim Weah's club scored at the weekend.
He has, man. He's looked really good playing on the right, and the funny thing for them is like they almost have, I don't want to say too many attackers, but like they went from last year having no wingers at all to now all of a sudden you've got Weah who's playing well, Francisco Conceição who's been insane for them, even though he's 5'2". Yeah. Kenan Yildiz all of a sudden is looking like the next. I'm not going to say
next Arda Güler.
I'm not. Hey, watch it now. Arda's going to get a good run of minutes here coming up soon, so he'll be fine. Calma, as Cristiano used to say.
Wait, I thought that was what Lamine Yamal says.
Damn, he did say that too. What was that against? Was that in the? He said that to us. But I mean, look, when you're stealing it from someone from our club, like that's basically you're admitting defeat on it. You're just like, hey, I'm a walking L, but I'm still gonna say what I want because I'm 17 or whatever the hell. Like anyone gives a shit or believes that. But going back to Juve, I think they're a team to continue to watch because I think they really can like put a run together and really be a quarterfinal, semifinalist type of team. Like I really think they're the second best team in Italy right now. I think them and Inter are the top 2. Napoli have had a nice start to the year, but come on now, when your double pivot is McTominay and Gilmore, I'm just not going to believe in you long term. Although McTominay did score a nice goal at the weekend.
When your best player from last year is now playing in Turkey, normally not a good sign for your team.
Oh, just going to say who are you talking about, but yeah. No, Osimhen, I love it when I see highlights of him. Like, do you think he's ever thinking, like, when he scores, he's like, do I really need to celebrate? So
I don't even know. I can't wait to watch the documentary on this in 10 years to just see what happened in like that 12-month period between like January of 2023 to like January of 2024. Just be like, he went from the hottest striking prospect in the entire world to just being like, oh yeah, I'm on loan at Fenerbahce.
Galatasaray. That's a bigger mess up than me not calling it.
Sue me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, the Turkish fans get real serious about that shit. But yeah, it is weird because I even remember him doing an interview after because I'm pretty sure Nigeria won the African Cup of Nations last year. I don't.
Was that the Premier League?
No,
I didn't watch it.
No. But he did an interview afterwards, and they were like, it was even weird because it was like, you still have 6 months left at Napoli, at least, right? And they were like, yeah, how do you feel about your next club? Is it going to be Chelsea, PSG, whatever? And he was like saying then, he was like, my next club, I've already decided. We already know where the next club is going to be and all that stuff. And I'm like, damn, seriously?
Yeah,
Galatasaray. Yeah. I was going to say so clearly. Excited. So the fact that nothing ended up materializing from him in that summer window this past year, I still think he's a January target. So, but going back to Juve,
to where?
God, I mean, you got to think of
it's the paradox of who can afford it,
but then who's also desperate.
There's definitely a club that's desperate enough. I don't know if they have the funds for it.
There are a couple teams I think that are desperate enough to do it. I think PSG are desperate enough to do it. I think Arsenal could be desperate enough to do it, although I don't know if the funds would be there necessarily because they spent money in the summer. I think
Juve?
No, shit, they don't have the money to do it.
Breaking the Higuain bank?
Well, I mean, I tell you this: if you sold Vlahovic, who's had a hell of a start to the season, if you sell Vlahovic to Arsenal, because Arsenal could afford maybe a Vlahovic, but maybe not a full Osimhen.
Like a 60 to 70.
Although the thing is, though, like now I think about, I don't even know
what is his value.
Yeah, like what would it be?
There's no way you're still getting 120 million.
Exactly. So maybe he is in play for more teams than I'm thinking. Because if it's like 70 to 80, like I can see
or
5
like
teams.
60 plus
60 plus 15,
like real add-ons, like real makeable add-ons or something like that.
Yeah, then I can see 5 teams easily getting involved in that.
Yeah,
and five teams will get really involved, and then somehow Barcelona will have a link to him, even though they have no money to spend. So.
And then they'll get him on a free.
Yeah,
they'll get him on a pre-contract, even though he has 2 years left on his deal.
Well, it'll be the classic Italian shit where it's a 2.5-year loan and then a free transfer after that. End. Yeah, so
you have to play in the Saudi Pro League in the meantime, but
yeah. So we know that's going to happen, but that's actually a good like kind of caveat to say because some of these teams are definitely going to look differently. Juve though, they do have a tough schedule ahead: Villa, City, Club Brugge, and then they close out with Benfica, who. Pretty sure beat them like 5-0 or something like that 2 years ago when they played in the Champions League. I just remember that because it was the year Benfica had their run to the quarterfinals or whatever when they were actually good. And now they have Bruno Lage.
Your favorite manager.
Yeah. Dude's... I can't call him an absolute train wreck just because of that Atletico Madrid 4-0 win. But... he's definitely hanging on to that result. I'm watching him. I'm watching him. No
Wolves
doubt.
Legend.
Well, and they beat Porto 4-1 at the weekend. So maybe I should shut the fuck up. Maybe that's what we're learning. Maybe that's what we're learning. We danced around it with Juve, like I said, quarterfinal, semifinal. I wouldn't be surprised. Their midfield is really strong now that everyone's healthy. When they're playing Thuram, Locatelli, and Coop Miners, kind of playing as the number 10 spot. Thought they overpaid for him, but he's still a hell of a player. So Juve, I think out of this group, can kind of be the surprise going forward, which is weird because you look at this group. This almost is like all the teams that we thought were going to be in that automatic qualifier are like all in here.
City, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Bayern, Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean even Atletico has been like a team who's been a challenger in European competitions for the past half decade to the last decade.
Dude, I don't know what the hell you put for 21. It says Feyenoord Rotterdam. I was like,
hey man,
I kind of saw it blurry from afar. I was like, what the hell team is that?
Hey man, I try to put that official club name in there sometimes. They took time. They clearly took time naming these clubs 100-something years ago. So I got to give them the respect they deserve.
I always like it when I'm trying to read different club names in like a graphic or something, and they're just called something that they're just not called, like LOSC.
Oh yeah,
like Leo. I was reading it just now, and I was like Losk. I was like, who the hell is Losk?
Like, are they in the same league as Pauk?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, what the hell club is this? I saw the badge. I was like, okay, Lille. So also there's some. I guess we can talk about some of the bigger players that I guess are surprises because they're in there. Rather than surprises that they're that high, surprised that they're that low. Your Real Madrids, your Cities, your Atletis. I guess you could throw Arsenal in there. I mean, Leverkusen, who again were the greatest team of all time last year, and it was a good decision for Granit Xhaka to get out of Arsenal to go there. But I don't think they've won a game since. So
you take that real personally. I
do.
I can tell. Nah, I mean,
because I was the last defender of Granit Xhaka at one point in the Arsenal fan club. So.
I can confirm. I can confirm that you never turned your back, even though he gave you plenty of evidence that you should have earlier in the process.
When he lost the armband and fought back, man, I was really proud of my boy.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's one of the most like biggest slaps in the face I think you can have, to be the club captain and then be like, just take that shit off of him
and then give it to Aubameyang.
Well, yeah, I mean that's that was in that period where somehow Aubameyang had the second most power of any player at any club besides Kylian at PSG. Where it's like, hey, we're gonna make you by far the highest earner at the club, and we're gonna make you the club captain, and you only have to play 1 out of every 3 games now. You're trying to think of someone else who's in that mode.
I mean, Messi, I guess, didn't have that power anymore. I mean, now
he
now
does.
This dude's on the like last year LeBron schedule, or sorry, he's now on like the Kawhi schedule. It's like, hey Messi, we got a game tonight. Are you gonna be there? It's like, nah, I'm going to hang out with my kids. All right, cool.
Yeah, he's texting the coach.
Yeah,
he doesn't even have
an hour before kickoff.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have the coach's number saved. That's
I say he's having his boy call that security guard that ran on the pitch and knocked that dude out. He's calling him. He's like, hey, Leno, you coming to the game? Like, nah, I'm in the mountains already. All right, cool.
Yeah, exactly. I got a 7:00 reservation at the Fountain
Prime
Blue.
112.
Yeah, Prime 112. Exactly. Exactly. So, let's do a quick moment or a quick minute on kind of Arsenal and Real Madrid, just because they're both of our teams and they're kind of in this. I don't want to call it malaise situation, but I think it kind of is like, the hangover from the year after, or even the 2 years after for Arsenal. First off, how are you feeling right now? Obviously, that tough stretch going into the international break did pick up the draw against Chelsea at the Bridge. How'd you feel about the game? Rice and Odegaard returning, and then how are you feeling looking forward, both Champions League and in the league? We can kind of talk about both, I guess.
So fortunately, I didn't get to watch the game because this is a rough part of the season where I don't really get to watch a ton because I'm, doing CNU stuff and legacy stuff, whatever. So I'm really about to kick into gear. All right, our soccer coverage, the quality of it is really about to kick into high gear because I'm going to have a lot more time. Chad's, nice. I think, is going to have a lot more time. Or Chad.
I've been watching.
Say Chad does more than enough watching, so he's definitely been on it. I've been not as on. So I'm really.
Yours is just feel for the game. You already know what's going on because it just takes me longer to watch to process that stuff. So.
Nah, but I think that Mikel Arteta kind of looked at the schedule. He kind of looked at our fixture list and he was like, all right, that sort of September to mid-November portion of the season is going to be a bitch. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be awful. And so we just need to make sure that we don't screw it up.
Yep.
We just need to make sure that we're not constantly losing, not constantly dropping points, not constantly whatever. And he's done okay, like a 5 out of 10 at that.
Okay.
We haven't constantly been losing, but we also have not been good. And everyone like doing the Krebs like, oh, they have 3 defensive mids on the pitch at one time. They can't score any goals.
4 center backs and 3
4
DMs.
Center backs, yeah, that kind of thing. And it's like, but now that I see the fixtures that are upcoming, I saw the fixtures in the league the other day. I think it was like our next 9. and it was like not easy, but a very winnable draw. That's when we're playing like teams like your God. Why can't I think? You're like your Ipswiches.
I'm pulling up the schedule to give you a lifeline if you need.
Like your Ipswiches and those your Crystal Palaces and those clubs that are like lower to see. So the crap teams like Forest, who are above.
I was gonna say they're fourth,
who are
right
just
now,
below us in the league, and then you got teams like United, West Ham, Fulham, like those kind of clubs. Not the clubs again; they're not going to be easy games, but they're going to be much easier than.
Oh, here you go. Here's the run that you need. End of December, you got Everton, Palace twice, and then Ipswich. That's the momentum you need going into January.
That's what I mean. And even our remaining Champions League games, I think it's like Girona, it's Sporting, it's I saw you
Monaco and Zagreb.
And it's like again
4 winnable games.
And we really need 10 points out of that. Mm-hmm. I think 10 points is doable. I think either one of the away games could probably end in a draw, either away at Sporting or away at Girona. But we need both of those home wins. And again, if we add 10 points to what we're on right now,
put you on 17.
That's 17 points. And again, we're only 2 points behind an automatic qualifying spot. So I think if we're picking up 17 total points out of 24, I think that'll be more than enough. And so I'm like quietly confident, again, like Chad said, too, getting the captain back, getting Declan Rice back. Saka is supposed to be rested this international break.
Yep,
I think
he
got
out.
recalled.
Pulled out.
As well as Cole Palmer, the 2 best players in the world, I guess.
Cole Palmer's not in that discussion. That
was more the alley-oop I was throwing to Chad.
Cole Palmer's not in that discussion. Sorry.
So I'm feeling like quietly confident over the next 2 months-ish time. Again, I'm not saying we're back in the title race. This is going to be easy. We're going to win every single one of those games and go on a 15-match winning streak. I'm not saying any of that, but our form is definitely going to take a spike here in a second. What about with Real Madrid coming up? Obviously, you guys had that really rough result in El Clasico, and stuff's really started to kind of be weirdly in tatters around the club after the Vinny Ballon d'Or thing. So how are you feeling about the club? Not from the outside, because obviously you're a fan, but like from the outside, not being someone that's there every day. Like, what is your gauge of?
Wait, I'm in there every day. I'm in train. I got training tomorrow.
What's your gauge of sort of the more interpersonal parts of it, rather than the actual like on the pitch stuff?
Yeah, real quick, just on Arsenal, just because I have some thoughts too, because I did actually watch that Chelsea game, and I've strangely, I got to tell you, I got to come clean. I think I'm putting a ban on Arsenal for myself. Because every time I've watched them, I swear has been like all the games they've dropped points. So like
appreciate that.
So yeah, so like it's funny because I got to do that kind of trying to measure it out to where obviously I know we're going to talk about them on the pod. So I'm like, well, I want to watch them to know what I'm talking. So I'm not just talking out of my ass.
But you watched the Bournemouth game?
Yeah, I did. I did. I watched that. I watched this game against Chelsea the other day. I watched the Inter game. So at the same time, I'm like, shit, maybe I need to stop watching them. So I think getting Odegaard back was huge. Like his presence was, and the fact that he came back and played the full 90, like coming off. Yeah, he had a beautiful assist to Martinelli. Yep, did all that. And the thing is, he just gives them another dimension in attack. Like right now, I think in the couple of weeks, especially before that, before he had come back, there was just too much over-reliance on Saka, both in the minutes that he played and the work that they were asking him to do. He's the thing I love about Saka more than anything is like his defensive work rate is like in the top 1% of all wingers, no doubt.
Especially elite level wingers.
Yeah, it reminds me of Vinny, like the first year Vinny broke through, where he was still like pressing like a dog and would actually score a shit ton of goals and have assists. Now Vinny just walks around. But so to be in the top 1% of the work rate and then basically have the entire creation, the entire offense basically is flowing through you as well. That was just a lot to put on him. And now that Odegaard's back, kind of gives him another added dimension. Rice isn't necessarily a guy who's creating offense, but is a guy who can be on the end of offensive creation. So him being back, I think, is huge for you guys as well. And then Martinelli scoring a goal is good, right? Like he's had a weird 18 months. I feel like, it was like kind of going into last season, there was a bunch of talk of like, oh man, he's actually,
he had scored 10 goals, and he was like kind of becoming a sneaky regular in the Brazil setup.
yeah, exactly.
And it was kind of like a weird thing where it was like, we need to play Vinny, Rodrigo, and Martinelli.
3 guys who all want to play on the left.
That's what I mean. And it was kind of it was a very strange thing, but obviously not now.
Yeah, and now Rafinha is obviously taking his spot in the starting lineup for Brazil, definitely. But he's had some inconsistencies, so it's like the less reliant you are on him for goals and assists, like I just think the better it is for the overall flow of the team. Kai Havertz, we should probably mention. I feel like he's been getting too much unnecessary stick lately. He's one of those guys that as soon as the team isn't performing to their level, it's Kai Havertz needs to be scoring more goals, And when he's not, when the team's winning and he's not scoring goals, it's but look at all this stuff he's doing for the team, pressing, winning headers, winning second balls.
I mean, it's the exact same thing that was happening.
Yeah, when he's the same player, no matter what.
Well, for Gabby Jesus, like Gabby Jesus, the first season he came to Arsenal, he started off pretty hot with his goal scoring run, and then his goals kind of tapered off. But no one really gave him a lot of crap because the team was still playing well. But it was like, but look at how he presses. But look at how he creates. Look at how he gets out of tight situations. Look at how he's able to outmuscle bigger defenders and be a link piece and all this other stuff. And same way with Kai Havertz. Last year, near the tail end of the year, it was like it looked like he was scoring every game, and when he wasn't, he was constantly winning headers and getting flicker rounds and little knockdowns and things like that. I mean, a lot of people say that first moment that he had was that BS pen that he scored against Bournemouth, but the real first moment that really endeared him to Arsenal fans, other than that Newcastle shin-high tackle way at St. James's Park, was the assist that he had for Martinelli's winner at the Emirates. He kind of knocked it down to Tomiyasu, who then played it to Gabriel or Martinelli, or the other way around. Anyway, he was kind of in that move and able to get that goal. And it was kind of like, oh man, this guy really does have a role, and he does have a skill set, and kind of went up from there. And now it's kind of, since he's not scoring as much, it's just kind of like, oh well, he's crap, which I don't really think is fair. I mean, you kind of see it probably too with certain guys in the Madrid team, where they get love when you guys are bad, like scapegoat kind of guys. Who would you say that kind of is for Real Madrid?
God, it's weird. I mean, this season, 100% it's been Tchouaméni, which I'm so glad you asked it, because the shit pisses me off. He's easily, like, I don't even think it's a question, the third best defensive midfielder in the world right now. Like, don't even have to think about it twice. I think it's Rodri, Rice would be second, and then I think Tchouaméni is third, no doubt. And, like, I've talked about, I don't know if I've talked with you about it, but I've talked recently with Ryder. He's heard my phone calls many a time, so I apologize. About the over-reliance on Tchouaméni as that defensive midfielder screener right in front of the back four, when in reality he is just way more versatile than that. Like they look at him, Carlo looks at him as like a Casemiro swap, when it's like he's way better on the ball than Casemiro has ever been in his entire life. He can go forward. He actually has a really nice cross from that right quadrant
that
area.
Half space.
Yeah, where actually De Bruyne kind of made a killing out of. He has like that ball every single day.
Need Joselu back to finish it.
And the thing is, like, I think it's because we're leaking more goals this year. Like, so then you're automatically like, and the thing is, like, for whatever reason, Rudiger, ever since he hit that penalty to knock out Man City of the Champions League, like, it just got to a point where Rudiger all of a sudden can't be criticized. And I'm like, hey, he's not been good this year. He just hadn't been that good.
And then now Militao's out.
Militao's out, but also that one, I mean, two things on Militao. One, he hadn't been that good. Like, he was
so fucking.
No, I'm not saying that. That'd be extremely Danny Ainge level ruthlessness of me. But he hadn't been as good. Like, he was stepping. The thing you love and hate about him is he is one of the most aggressive defenders in the world. And I don't mean aggressive as far as picking up cards, but just pressing guys high. Like, he'll press, a number 10 when he gets the ball, in kind of that half space. If a number 9 drops way off, like, he's on him the entire time. And that's some of the stuff you love about him, because he's able to win the ball back in high areas. But also, when he doesn't, it looks really shitty and it looks really stupid. And that was some of the one of the goals specifically against Milan, the one that Morata scored, where he challenges Leao. Leao shakes him off completely. Leao gets it back, shoots, misses. Morata right there for the follow up. Like, it's just not. It hadn't been as good as what he was pre-injury, which is obvious, right? And then the other thing is he was playing every single minute of every single game. I think there's only one game this year that he didn't start and play the full 90. Mm-hmm. So, the fact that he got injured is not a surprise to me. The fact that it's the other ACL is not a surprise to me, because it's that, overcompensation from, you hurt your left side, now your right side's more susceptible, all that. But, yeah, I mean, you
medical corner.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring Savannah up real quick. But you were asking me how I feel about Madrid. I'm
crisis.
I mean, look, I don't think crisis. I don't think
Real
crisis.
Madrid type of crisis. Where it's like when you have that kind of standard for the club.
Well, I mean, shoot, we're already. I mean, I saw some shit the other day where it was like, do they need to start looking to replace Carlo? This was after the AC Milan result, and it was like, all right, man, like, I get it. You lose two high profile games, right? It's losing the Lille away in match day 2, like, all right, that's one thing, like, whatever the fuck.
That happens.
Yeah, that happens. Like, getting killed 4-0 in the 4-0 in the Clasico, and then getting killed by Milan 3-1, like, that doesn't happen, and so I can understand why there were initial conversations, but, like, at the same time, you got to get to a point where it's like, relax, calma. That Osasuna result they had right before the break, I thought was huge. Osasuna are actually 5th in La Liga going into that match, so it's not like they're beating up on Alaves, or something like that.
Old club.
Yeah, Espanyol, bottom of the table type guy. So it's not nothing like that, but we have to really hold on to that momentum and then push forward, because no Militao, no Lucas Vasquez now for a month, no Rodrigo for a month, and look,
who the hell's going to play right back?
Fede Valverde. No, I'm dead. I'm so serious.
That's the funniest part. Is that you're being serious.
It'll be either him or Mendy. Mendy actually played some right back 2 years ago for us and was actually not horrible in the spot. So I can see it if we do like a back 4 of like Fran Garcia, Rudiger. We brought on a dude when Militao got injured. We brought on a dude named Asensio.
Wait.
So no Jesus Vallejo minutes. No chance. No chance. That's I thought was great. We brought on a 21-year-old.
I mean, that's career murder, isn't it?
Yeah, when a 21-year-old dude from the second team.
I say when 4 center backs on your team are hurt,
and you're still not even getting a look, not even getting a look,
not even making the match day squad.
Yeah, like and he might even start a game here between now and January, just because we don't have Alaba's not going to come back until January.
Well, okay, so do you think that screams? Because I think La Liga, especially like the Real Madrid and Barcelona, are like kings of this.
Bringing in a shit guy
like
no one's heard of.
The
and
weird
then he starts 10 games.
Emergency player that is like, you look at the guy and it's like, why would you ever sign there? You're only going to play 4 games and never play again, but it's like, it's Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Why would I not? Like, does this situation that you guys are currently in not scream emergency center back from Espanyol that's like, hey man, it was their best player last year and it's 5 million euros. Let's just do it and have them play 5 games and never touch the club again.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm gonna throw a crazy scenario out. I would rather sign Sergio Ramos on a free, because he's a free agent technically. I'd rather sign him as a free agent and then bring in like, because to me, like, I don't want to just bring in the type of signing you just described. Yeah. The 29-year-old center back who...
They're basically what Inigo Martinez
for us. Yeah, exactly.
Apparently he's been very good this year. I don't watch Barcelona, but
no,
I mean, the amount of times that doesn't work out when it ends up becoming like a Martin Braithwaite.
It was kind of the signing that maybe Bayern was like kings of for like probably a decade or so. Yeah. Who's a guy on a middling Bundesliga team who we can, with the guys we have around him, can take him to that next
Sebastian
level.
Rode.
Right. I mean, Mario Götze, like something like that. One of those signings. Gomez. Sorry, not Mario Götze.
Mario Gomez actually got money for them back in the
He
day.
did.
but-
That's what I'm saying. But no one was like, "Oh my God, he's the transfer that's going to change the season for him."
Yeah.
But yeah, if we can bring in, so I don't want to bring in, like you said, the 29-year-old center back. I'm trying to rattle through my head. I don't even know who that would be.
Well, he's on your team.
Vallejo? Yeah.
That's like literally the exact player
Exactly.
that it would be.
I mean, that's the thing. If Ceballos wasn't already with us, he would be a lock to sign for us for, $10 million in the last 6 months of his deal. But I'd rather go Ramos and then sign like a young guy who
Can get some minutes now, but not rely on him just yet.
Yeah, and look, there are going to be moments where we over rely on him and he's going to end up fucking up. But I'd be okay with that if we're talking about like an 18 to 21-year-old. Like, I saw a lot of links to Warl Hato, the Ajax center back, who you guys were actually linked with in the summer. Who, yes, I could see it, but at the same time, he's 18 coming out of Ajax, so it's like, and he only has had like a season there.
Yeah.
So
I think he's still 18.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, what can you realistically expect from a guy like that? A Costello Lukeba coming out of RB Leipzig, who, a little bit older, 21, had some time at Lyon, is now obviously at Leipzig. So he has some experience in the top 5 leagues, but, like, you don't just go from, all right, you're starting at Leipzig, then all of a sudden you're, like, starting every single game for Real Madrid. So
You think you guys could hijack the Vuskovic deal from Spurs?
Hey man, when Vuskovic comes, he's literally the Bruno Caboclo right now because he's 2 years. When they signed him, he was 2 years away from coming over, and then he's not going to play as soon as they bring him over. So he's 2 years away from being 2 years away.
Who's the?
So he's literally
They're 2 moves away from being.
Yeah.
Hey, who's the dude? I think he's Venice. No, he's Ecuadorian. The attacking midfielder that Chelsea signed. His name is like Baez.
Kendry Paez.
Baez.
Yeah.
He scored a pen. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Just small 20-second story. When I was watching Copa America and I saw this dude wearing the 10 shirt, putting down the ball for the pin when like Inter Valencia was like in the team, I was kind of like, this might be the greatest player of all time. This dude is like legitimate. He was like legitimately 16 years old, wearing the 10 shirt and taking pins in a major tournament for his club. I was like,
country, you mean?
Sorry, for his country. And I was like, dude, this dude might be the greatest player of all time, or he's going to be literally the worst player of all time by the time he's 21.
I'm telling you, man, Chelsea are building the 2030 Premier League winners piece by piece. They got Paez, they got Esteval, Willian. Vega, I can't lie. Vega's been okay at left back. Even alright. Played a little DM too. Like, he hasn't been a horrible signing at all. But that's the thing I don't like. I half respect about what Chelsea did, and like I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, they spent 1.3 billion and they don't."
Still
really
have no idea how they've passed any PSR.
Yeah, that part completely. Although they are really good at selling off, academy products and stuff like that. So, but. I the thing is, like, they bought in 50 players, and it's like, hey, if 1 out of 5 hits, that's still like, if 1 out of 5 of the maybes hit, and as opposed to, I don't even know who the guarantees would be. I mean, hell, probably those guys have failed more than anything.
I mean, you would think that it would be like an Nkunku, even a Madueke. Maybe even a...
I don't know if Madueke would have been in... I mean...
He was one of the hot prospects coming out of Eredivisie.
Like 20 million coming out of the Eredivisie.
That's more Eredivisie, non-Ajax number.
Yeah.
And then even Mihailo Mudryk. I mean, he was...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mudryk definitely was in that category of like, oh, his transfer isn't going to fail. And it's like, really? A 22-year-old who hasn't really shown anything technically? And
he literally had like 2 games in the Champions League, and I don't even think he like had a goal or an assist in either of them.
Yeah,
he just ran by people. He was like, oh shoot, this dude. It was against Real Madrid, I think.
It was in our group. It was Shakhtar, Leipzig, Celtic, and Real Madrid. So
yeah, it's like he ran.
And I think
he probably
specifically
ran by Cameron Carter-Vickers once, and then it was
no,
like, oh, shoot.
I'm almost positive the specific game was the Leipzig
game.
Yeah, they played like Leipzig away, and he was given, probably. I think he was giving Vardiel hell. Which, by the way, like, Vardiel is still, like, is one of the most fascinating guys to me in the sense of, like...
He's not Hemi Neutron?
like 1 week. First off, I got to apologize to him because he should have been the captain of the trick or treat team, because he's either scoring a winner or he's like in that game the other day where he's literally watching the ball bounce in front of him for 10 seconds, not clearing it, and then João Pedro scores it, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
What's the name for the team where the guy does something really well that has literally nothing to do with his position?
The
Like
João Cancelo team? João Cancelo All-Stars?
Because it'd be like the Mohamed Sanu All-Stars. Like he's got a perfect passer rating.
That's way better.
He's got
That's
a perfect
honestly
passer
it.
rating, but the secret is that he's a receiver.
That's great. No,
Like it's
that
like,
is
oh,
it.
Vardiol's got 5 goals in
Yeah,
the league
yeah.
this year. It's like, yeah, he's also a center back turned left back.
Yeah, who's a sieve defensively. Like, it gets ran by everybody.
When they have him and Kyle Walker out there, it's like defensive hell for City.
Yeah. People are like, oh, how is City's defense bad? Well, I'll give you a hint. The
How
guys
they
they're
concede-
playing suck.
How they concede 4 to Sporting.
Their center back, their starting center back pairing is like, we got to get a Kanji and Ake healthy. It's like, oh shit, the dude who was at Bournemouth and then the other guy who was a rotation option at Dortmund. Okay, cool. Sounds good. And then we got 34-year-old Kyle Walker playing right back who still can't complete a pass. So
It's
he
actually
doesn't get one from me.
It's
either.
actually so funny because I see stuff all the time on Twitter, and I know all the people that listen that are City fans are gonna hate me for this, but it's like this just shows how small of a club that City still are, despite their successes, because nobody cares.
Yeah, no.
Like they've lost now again 4 straight games, and no one said a word.
Yeah.
Arsenal drew a couple of games, and it was like, look at
Club
them.
in crisis.
Dark Arts FC. And then like City's lost 4 straight, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a great point. That's a great point. And they're
I mean, shit, Real Madrid. We're talking about them in crisis mode. We're talking about 2 results.
Yeah,
We're talking about 2 results. It's like, oh my god, if this is insurmountable. But like City is like 4 straight losses. I think 5 points off the top, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, it's like no one cares. And also, I mean, I think with City, it's like
There is some understanding that it's not going to be like that for long.
like there's the people who are, I guess, the semi-intelligent fans of theirs have to understand, like, hey, we're closer to the end of this than the beginning. So, yeah, overall, Real Madrid though, I'm feeling a bit concerned. I gotta say though, Champions League, this would have been completely on brand for us like 4 years ago to like go through in the as like the 24th team, the second group, and then go on and win the shit. So I'm hoping maybe we can get some of that magic back. We still got a huge Liverpool matchup in it's that first week back after the international break. So we're definitely going to get hammered in that one. I mean, it's probably going to be a back four of Rudiger, Mendy, Valverde, and this dude Asensio. Like
with Lunin in goal.
Shit, I don't know. Although I'm not. Lunin wouldn't go in that category for me. He's decent enough that I'm like, all right, we can win games with Lunin. But then a midfield of like,
was he the one where it hit off of his head and went in the other day? Lunin. Did that happen recently, or am I imagining that? I thought it went off the bar, off his head.
No, you're talking about the that was in the Juve. Well, maybe I saw it happen in the Juve game where Kefren Turam somehow hit it far post.
Yeah, definitely wasn't that.
Hit off of the post, then hit the keeper back of the keeper's head who was on the near post, and then went in somehow. So I don't even know how that happened.
That's tight.
And then he celebrated like it was his, but it was really an own goal. So I was like, got it.
Well, we call it Leather Bruno now.
Oh shit, he did.
This dude literally missed the shit out of the ball and then ran off with this little celebration with Casemiro. Wanting to quickly touch on the last sort of tier of teams, those elimination places. Again, the 2 biggest surprises we're going to get into. First team in there obviously is a pretty big surprise. We got PSG, Sparta Prague, Stuttgart, Shakhtar Donetsk, who I don't even know how they're playing games, but that's neither here nor there. Girona, RB Salzburg, Bologna, RB Leipzig, Sturm Graz, Young Boys, Red Star Belgrade, and then Slovan Bratislava, which sounds
made up.
Sure, I'll just go with sounds made up. Yeah. And so we got a couple creative clubs in there, but for the most part, all right, We do have some talent in there. I mean, the Stuttgart team, the Girona team, the PSG team, and the Leipzig team. You'd probably think, just if you were to throw all 36 teams out there, you would not think that they would be in that elimination bracket.
Yep.
Especially PSG, who have had a hard draw and do continue to have a hard draw away at Bayern, away at Salzburg, home to City, and home to Stuttgart. So, I mean, there's a very, very real possibility that they even go into that Stuttgart home game already eliminated.
Yeah. Look, I got to be honest. I can't wait for that Bayern matchup. I think because consistently this whole season, I've actually felt like PSG are a better team than Bayern, even though when you look at the Champions League results, they haven't matched up.
PSG is still top of Ligue 1 above Brest and Monaco. I think Brest are in like 12th.
Yeah. I was going to say Brest have been horrible in the league this year. I think second is Marseille right now, and De Zerbi just threatened to walk out of the club like on Friday. So, like that's the competition you're facing in Ligue 1.
I think Monaco is second, but I know for a fact who's second top goal scorer in the league.
Lacazette?
It's a Marseille player.
Oh, no, yeah, it's Greenwood.
Yeah,
no, Greenwood's been the best player in that league.
It's Barcola.
Other than Barcola.
I think Barcola's on 10, and then Mason Greenwood's on like 8 or something.
No, he's... Greenwood's good, man. He's just... I understand that's controversial to say, but he's a good fucking player. But yeah, PSG, I think have been... They actually haven't even been horrible in the competition is the crazy thing. Like, the Arsenal game, they were definitely horrible. Like, got played off the pitch, no doubt about it. Arsenal away, like, I can't...
Lee was good. Your boy.
Invisible. But the game, the home game against Atletico, I still don't know how Atletico won that. I mean, I know it was...
Isn't that the story of Atletico over the past decade?
And of PSG, really.
I don't know how Atletico won that, and I don't know how PSG lost that.
No, it has. It played exactly to the Champions League script of the past decade, so... But still, like, I mean, PSG had 15 chances easily to put that game away, took none of them. And look, part of it, I think, is also like, hey... Enrique, like, your team is having trouble finishing. I don't know, you spent $150 million on 2 number 9s. Maybe you should try playing one of them. But he's just not...
false 9, Kang-in Lee.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, it's like, you don't even have good options as the false 9. Like, there's... No one would ever be like, oh, shoot, we gotta find a way to get Kang-in Lee into the PSG side. Like, what
I'm still in on him, man. I don't care. I'm still in on Kang-in Lee.
I don't hate him as a player, but like the idea of we can't play with a traditional 9 because we got to get Kang-in Lee at that false 9, like, or even Asensio when he's playing as the false 9. Like I'm not down with that mindset, with that theory, because I think Colomwani and Ramos both actually bring stuff to the team. But yeah, so that's going to be a huge game, them versus Bayern. I actually like PSG in that matchup. I think they have a better midfield. And a more compact... They have more of a defensive identity.
With your boy Kimpembe.
No, I mean, he's not even seeing the field. I don't even know if he's played for them this season. It's weird. They all of a sudden brought in... Like, they signed Skriniar on a free for, like, the biggest wages of I mean, not of PSG, because, they should throw out money, but he's on, like... $250,000 a week or something like that. And then they just were like, we'll sign William Pacho from Eintracht Frankfurt for $50 million. And then he starts every single game. And when we don't start him, we're going to start Beraldo, this 20-year-old we signed from Brazil, who I do like, but it's a weird way to... They have like 100 center backs. So, so PSG still looking to gain some momentum, still looking to gain some identity. I think they could be another team, though, who like... string a couple results together. Next thing you know, they're in a quarterfinal. So
yeah,
I think out of this group, them and then Leipzig are kind of the only teams that maybe even have anything close to that potential.
But the issue is, again, with Leipzig, I mean, you're looking at their remaining games at Inter, Villa home, Sporting home even, and then at Sturm Graz is kind of the same old song as PSG. Like, one game in there that you might point at and say it's an easier game.
Yeah.
In away at Sturm Graz, but it's like by that, and that's their last game. By that time, by that time, you might already be eliminated. I mean, RB Leipzig are 32nd.
Yeah, I mean, they have 0 points. They don't have a single point.
Is that true?
So, yeah, they're on 0 points.
Jesus, they do have 0 points.
Which is crazy because just going through their results, because weirdly I've watched 3 of their games. The Atletico Madrid game, and just replay from 45 seconds ago, RB Leipzig dominated the first 60 minutes of that game, and then it's like, oh, okay, Atleti won 2-1, nice. I think that was one of those bullshit Angel Correa last minute winners or something like that.
I actually hate that dude.
Yeah, I mean, he scored the equalizer against us. I don't know if I can say off myself, but I guess I did. And then like the Juve game. I mean, the Juve game is unacceptable to lose because you're up 2 goals going against a 10-man team.
Yeah,
and you still lose that game. So that's horrible. But like, I don't know. Leipzig are one of those teams where, like, weirdly enough, I still, even though they've given me plenty of evidence to give up on them, I'm still like, because in Bundesliga they're actually doing really good. Like, they're second in the league. I think they have the best defense. Mm-hmm. They have like the second best defense in all of the top 5 leagues. Like the only team who's better, I think, is Juve, which is kind of crazy in itself. But Leipzig, like, they have an identity. They have what you talked about earlier, that quick counterattacking, being able to hit on the counter with Seshko and Openda. Xavi Simons obviously is out right now, so they're probably losing a lot from him. I gotta say, there's no chance Marco Rosa is watching this. But if you are, dude, just stop playing Nusa on the left. Like, just they play this 4-4-2, and he's playing Nusa as like a left winger, and it's like, dude, he's like a striker or like a false 9 kind of, like, playing off as a second striker. He's not a guy who should be playing as like a left midfielder, like, that's trying to cut in and shit. So I don't know. I don't know as much as him, or as much as Rosa, but I just don't see it. So that was a bit of a rant, so I apologize.
Yeah, you better. But yeah, so the 5 teams, I guess, with no points so far are Leipzig, Sturm Graz, Young Boys, Red Star, and then Bratislava. Actually, I thought it was pretty impressive. Bratislava has actually conceded 15
in 4 games.
Yeah, which is not the least, or not the most, because Red Star has also they've conceded 16, but they've also scored 4.
Come here, Bratislava scored or have they scored any?
Bratislava has scored 2.
Oh, nice.
There is a team, however, that we have not mentioned that hasn't scored yet.
Is that Sturm Graz?
No, it's a team that has a point. And that's Bologna.
Oh, Bologna?
Yeah, they have a point, but they haven't scored yet. They conceded 5.
I actually feel bad for Bologna because they're like that classic example of
the good season lose all their players.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what.
And then they still have to play in the Champions League.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that's them, and that's Girona and Stuttgart.
Yeah.
Like the 3 teams from top 5 leagues that are in this, like, besides Leipzig. That are in this, like, bottom portion are all teams where, like, hey, we had one great season, lost all of our good players, and now we're shit. Oh, surprise, surprise. We tried to replace them with the same budget that we had from the year before, which was like $20 million.
Yeah.
And we're losing to these teams that have like $100 million budget.
My favorite comedy from every summer window is seeing, like, the clubs that get ran through like that, and then watching them try to replace the people that
Donny van de Beek Girona signing is what you're saying. You enjoyed that one.
Exactly, for $500,000, which we talked about last year or last week on the pod, which is like,
yeah, that's
incredible.
When you make that signing, you're like, hey, we know we're throwing away $500,000, but
which is insane for a player that was, like, supposed to be a huge part of the Ten Hag project. I mean, to have someone give up on you.
I'm gonna defend Ten Hag, which is my agenda. He was signed before Ten Hag came in, so it was actually just a stupid ass signing to begin with. It wasn't even like a Ten Hag signing.
Well, I still think to this day, like, Donny van de Beek, I could definitely see him being Aaron. What? I could see him being Aaron Ramsey for, like, a decent team. Like, Aaron Ramsey, I think people, like, selectively, like, think about his career. This dude was, like, literally a nothing midfielder for Arsenal for 10 years. Like, he literally, like, I guess this is a term me and Chad use, but a nothing midfielder means that, like, you actually don't even have a discernible, like, skill.
Yeah.
He's not a DM. He's not a ball winner. He's not a ball progressor. He's not a
final third.
He's not
crasher.
he's not a final third goal scorer. He's not a guy that likes to get in wide areas from central. He's not a press monster. He's not like he's literally
He's nothing. He's nothing.
He's none of these archetypes you think of for a midfielder. But for Aaron Ramsey, I guess what his skill was or his role was to like just find spaces and pick up the ball and sometimes be on the wrong shoulder of a defender and score a goal. And you would think like Donny van de Beek, that should be what he should be able to do. Like start central, find like some weird space to pick up the ball, and then
I think the
pass it. I guess.
I think the downfall for him,
yeah.
has been all the teams he's played in have been teams. This is even the case when he was on loan at Eintracht Frankfurt, which was never going to work out. As soon as you saw the setup of the team, like he's always been asked to play in a double pivot. Or as a number 10, and it's like he's not really either one of those.
He's like the greatest DM of all time behind him, and like the greatest creative midfielder of all time.
Like he needs to be like an 8 in like a 3-man midfield. Like that to me, as a right-sided midfielder in a 3-man midfield, that would be the only way you could see. Like
like if he had like I don't know, like Mainu and Bruno Fernandes like playing with him, I think he might be good. But I don't think that would ever happen. I guess
I don't even think.
No, not Mainu, but
I was
going
gonna say because Mainu's not a good enough screener, in front of the back four.
That's
to
why.
be.
Yeah, if they had like, if they actually. I mean,
if
they had like Ugarte and Bruno, then I guess maybe he'd be able to do well, but we may never know.
Yeah, hey man, you can't win them all. You can't win all the transfers. As United definitely tell us every single year. So
well, Moisey, I saw him on like a podcast the other day saying like
David,
saying that like
I thought you meant Ken. Who's second top scorer in Serie A right now?
Ken Moise?
Moise Ken.
I was like, what the...
Sorry.
Yeah, the Everton legends is what eight.
Everton, PSG, and Juve legends.
Yeah, exactly. But he
talking about
David Moyes.
Yeah, sorry, I knew
David Moyes. David Moyes. He was talking, and it was kind of interesting because I'm sure everyone that's played a sport kind of realizes this or has experienced this at least once or twice in their life, where like they hear a bunch of things or like they're like, oh, we got this guy on our team, and then you kind of see him play and instantly know that like, ooh, he's kind of not what he's supposed to be.
Like, damn, mess this one up.
That's what I'm saying. Like Moyes said that there were multiple times he's like, I had a good relationship with the board, and there were some times where it's like, after a week of the guy being at the club, he's kind of like, this isn't going to work. Like, we got to start like floating his name out right now while he still has value.
He was saying this when he was at United?
No, he was just saying in general. Like, generally.
I was going to say, there's no way he had a good relationship there. It didn't even last the season.
He said, like, when he was like at Everton and then probably
West Ham.
When he was at West Ham, like, there were some times where he signed a plan.
7 times he was there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're at a club and you're just like, ooh, like, this guy's just not going to work. I mean, I'm sure you guys listening can think of a player as like, oh, this guy, was this in high school or that for his club team or whatever, and you saw these highlights of him playing on Instagram, and then you kind of played with them. You're kind of like, is this dude even good?
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying Moyes would have been asking the board to sell Füllkrug to whatever Bundesliga team you can right now in January?
I mean, that was my biggest L so far of the podcast. I was in on him. I was in on that move.
God, do you think that's the bigger L or Bryce Young?
The guy that won 2 games in a row now? That guy? Like, he's literally won. I think
he probably is above now. His stock's probably better.
His stock's probably higher right now.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we revisit that shit. I was already kicking your ass. And Mahomes won again. Which, by the way, the amount of bullshit ways that the Chiefs are finding to win games. I mean, they literally have what in 2024 is considered, the Broncos have what's considered in 2024 a chip shot field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
And then they just freaking block it. Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah, I know. I didn't watch the game, but so, like, I went back to watch the highlight, and I was like, all right, if it was blocked, it had to be like a 50, 55, 60-yarder, like something where it's a lower line drive. Kick. And then I watched it, it was like 38 yards, and I'm like, are y'all serious?
Can't get that ball up?
Yeah, exactly. You might have to put that one on the kicker, not even... Although, when you watch it, the guy literally just runs right through the line. And just, I'm like, all right.
So I would never put it on the kicker. Hey, Kickers Union. Kickers Union.
You, Chase, Seth, and Will Lutz. The 4 of y'all are just...
hey, we were riding in a Prevost bus this weekend for seeing you, and so I was thinking about my boy Tony Prevost.
Anthony Prevost, if you're listening, please give us a check-in. Let us know how you're doing, because I would love to know.
Yeah, so kind of to wrap up today, because it looks like we're going for about an hour 20. Who do you think has the best chance of winning the Champions League? Not odds, not if they get the right draw, not who can. Who do you think, if you just say right now, blank slate, who has the best chance of winning the Champions League right now, on current form, on current whatever factors you want to put into it, who would you say have the best chance?
Bratislava.
If they score again, man, they're back in it.
I mean, think about it. If Bologna score a goal, they're getting points without
They're not
even
conceding
scoring.
shit. They've only conceded 5, I think, in 4 games.
No, on a serious note,
Actually,
this is
hold on.
such
Let's
a
start with this.
difficult
Who do you not
question.
believe? Who are you already not a believer in? That's either in
Bayern.
that. Okay, boom.
Bayern, no doubt. Sorry,
That's the easy one.
Yeah, that's the easy. Bayern, I don't believe in. I kind of got the favorites right up here.
I definitely don't believe in PSG. I definitely don't believe in Juve.
I believe in Juve a bit. Like I gotta say, I believe in Juve the most of those teams.
And I think the hottest one that's going to end up being the hottest take is I don't believe in Bayern. Barca. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Barca do this thing where they play this high risk, high reward, like super high defensive line, and like it looks great when you're beating the hell out of Bayern 4-1, when you're beating the hell out of Real Madrid 4-0. But
then again, you're going to play against Šeško and Openda, and it's like,
Yeah.
God, I just lost 4-1 away at Leipzig.
Yeah.
Like, I know they don't play each other, but like if it ended up being like a knockout tie or something like that.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like the how many times have we seen that where it's the super high pressing? I mean, if you were talking about. We were talking about Bayern a second ago. It reminds me of that Bayern Villarreal matchup from like the one that got Nagelsmann the sack, basically, where it was the super duper high pressing Bayern going against the counterattacking sit inside, and it was like, hey, and we see it every single year. So it wasn't. I mean, PSG, Dortmund last
Or even
year.
however many teams we see, like a team through the group stage, or in this case the league stage, that are just like flying. Oh, they're the best team in the world.
Yeah, they didn't go through any adversity really.
No one can touch them.
Yeah.
They're the greatest. How many times did Bayern go 6 from 6 in the group stage and then just shit their pants in the quarterfinal?
Yeah, a lot.
Or even that Barca team that everyone likes to retroactively be like, oh my God, the Messi carry job. But they were legitimately very, very, very good at that time. And then they ended up losing that tie to Liverpool away, the 4-0.
Oh, hell yeah.
The 4-0 at Anfield, like stuff like that. Like
Corner taking quickly.
I think they won the league that year. So it's not like it was the
it
worst
wasn't a
Barca
bad
team
team
of all time, like
Yeah.
people try to make it out to be. But, we see it all the time where it's the team that's flying out of the group stage don't end up winning it. Kind of like what you were talking about, Real Madrid just sneaking through the group and then end up winning the shit because that's just how it crumbles, how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So if you were to stake your claim, not say this team's going to win it, but say, I believe in this team the most right now, who would it be?
I'm looking at the teams kind of right now to kind of. All right, I got it. All right, I'm gonna work backwards. I don't believe in Bayern. I don't know. I don't think I can say I believe in City this year. I'm not ruling out Barcelona. I'm gonna go. Shit, I'm gonna actually say Liverpool. I'm
I
gonna
was
say I
really going
believe
to say
in.
Liverpool, too.
Yeah, and it's really more process of elimination than it is how much I believe in Liverpool because
Yeah.
I still like what you just talked about the team that flies through out the gates the first 2-3 months they're flying, they're top of the table, they're through on 6 wins from 6 and all this. No one's punched them in the mouth. That's literally what Liverpool have been so far, both in the league and in the Champions League. So I want to see what they are when they get punched in the mouth. When they go against a team where they need that real DM, right? When they
Or
go
even
against,
like when they drop points in 3 straight games, which is no matter how good your team is, it's going to happen at some point.
Exactly.
Like you have a weird result away at Bournemouth, and then you lose at home to like City, and then you have a third game where it's like could go either way, and you end up dropping points to Everton because it's a Merseyside game or something like that.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen with that? What's going to be the fallout is. And I don't think he's this kind of guy really, but like, is Mo Salah going to look at Arne Slot and be like, "Who the hell are you?" Is Virgil van Dijk going?
What's your resume?
That's what I'm saying. Like stuff like that. Like, what are these guys going to do when push comes to shove. Because right now it's easy to love Slot, it's easy to love the
exactly.
system, it's easy to love the team selection and stuff. But then once you get punched in the mouth, what's going to happen? But weirdly, I'd say Liverpool too. Just like you said, process
which means now they have no chance to win it.
Which means because it's process of elimination. Like City, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're gone.
Yeah, you definitely can't say that.
But it's just like
they're not as good as they were the past.
Not as good as they
years.
were. Real Madrid, we've talked about, especially their defensive issues, which we talked about is probably one of those key things that you definitely need to win the Champions League.
Real Madrid, you have to wait until after January to even say what you would really think, because they have to make signings.
Barca, I think that the people they're relying on are just too inexperienced at that level. Rafinha was at Leeds 2 years ago. Lamine Yamal was playing youth team football 2 years ago. Danny Olmo, I think he's a good player, but I'm still not going to sit here and be like Danny Olmo is going to unlock defenses.
And plus, he's going to get hurt 3 times between now and the end of the season.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Pau Cubarsí in the back, Inigo Martinez, like these are the guys that they're going to be relying on, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to get it done for 8 months.
I think the thing that gives them a chance, and actually why I actually kind of considered making Barca, maybe even saying them as the favorite, is they still have guys to come back, right? They still have they've continued to reintegrate Gavi, who I think is overrated, but whatever. Frankie De Jong has come back from injury. Olmo has come back, even though as we know he's going to get hurt again. It's just a matter of when, not if. Balde coming back into the fold at left back.
You think about the beginning of the season, Pedri coming back in, things like that.
Araujo, who is still set to come back. I'm not sure what his injury might have been, a long-term one, so I don't want to say he's back if he's not.
Messi on loan from MLS.
Yeah. God, do you remember last year that shit was talked about? That shit pissed me off so bad last year when they were like, oh, well, actually, they could...
Well, MLS season
ends. It ends this day, and then he could come back, and it's like, dude, he doesn't even want to play 3 games in a month for MLS. What makes you think he's going to play 12 straight months? So,
I remember Clint Dempsey, he did that for Fulham.
He went on loan to MLS. It was Seattle Sounders.
The other way around. He was playing for Seattle, and he went on loan to Fulham from, January to March.
That's insulting.
Because I think the MLS season begins in April or something, and so he went on a 3-month loan to Fulham, and he didn't do shit.
That's got to be the shittiest thing all time. Yeah, whenever my new all time favorite thing is seeing when a guy plays for 3 clubs in one season. That's when you know they're absolute shit.
I like how I think American sports aren't getting enough credit for having that global impact, because I think people are now treating January like the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
We're just going to get rid of all of our guys because we suck. And then other teams are like, hey, man, I don't know. This team's already in 12th. Their season's over. Maybe they're looking to pawn guys off for cheap. It's like, what are you talking about?
Can't wait to see where Anthony goes on loan in January. I bet he goes on loan to Barca. Barca will pick his ass up. Because that's the thing about Barca. They love a free transfer or a loan, no matter if they fit or not.
Yeah, there's we need a free transfer, or we need a loan. It doesn't matter who it is.
It doesn't matter if they're good, doesn't matter who they are.
They do kind of love a reclamation project too, so, I mean...
it worked out with Oriol Romeu, so...
Southampton legend,
What came in last year, started 8
So we all know what's going to happen now.
They're going to sign Harwood Bellis.
Close.
Okay.
This guy's going to get recalled from his current loan, and then loaned out to Barca.
Oh shit, Osimhen?
Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips.
They're gonna rejuvenate his career.
God, if they do that, then Hansi Flick is the best manager of all time. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, I do love the fact that everyone's been shitting on Xavi and every other manager,
I'm
and
retweeting this
and being like, oh, look what Hansi Flick's done in just 2 months. It's
Xavi literally won the league 2 years ago.
Xavi won the league
with a negative transfer budget.
I think in his first full season he won the league, and then people are pretending they've already won the league in November, their best player isn't 17.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, this is why I'm not all the way freaked out about Real Madrid fully in the league. Is we had a 10-point lead going into the World Cup break in 2022, and we ended up losing that. So, Barca's they have a 6-point lead and we have a game in hand right now. So,
and they're inexperienced.
Yeah.
So, well, at least in a winning capacity, their players are older, but as far as winning leagues and things like that, especially at the Champions League / La
Yeah.
Liga level. Not really a ton of
Yeah,
league winning
Rafinha's
experience in there.
going to be looking around in March and like, wait, we're not fighting off relegation. What is going on?
I don't need to score this goal if I want to be in this league next year.
Exactly. So, and he's been awesome. So, let me not act like I'm shitting on Rafinha.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, a little bit of a different episode, a little bit of a different look. Let us know what you think about it. Do you like it? Do you want us to try and do this a little bit more often, or do you like it when we kind of have our own space?
Yeah.
I'm able to do a little bit more live updates other than on my phone, stuff like that. But
Let me know how you guys like my Christmas tree in the back too. There's one of 3 in the house right now, so we're taking it serious over here.
Yeah, so please let us know. Glue Guys episode 14. We will see you guys next week for 15.